Eastern Pacific storm forming on tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for May 28th. So the Northern Hemisphere, after a brief tropical depression a few days ago off the coast of India, now looks like it's going to get its first tropical storm. The Eastern Pacific has a very high chance of development, almost 100% according to the National Hurricane Center, and it looks like it will become our first named storm of the Northern Hemisphere this year. How long has that taken? In the Atlantic, we've also tagged a 10% chance near the Azores, one or two little hints on the models of a brief spin-up system. It doesn't look likely, but we're just keeping our bases covered there, and it looks like we'll sail into the hurricane season once again without a storm in the pre-season. In the Eastern Pacific, we are of course into hurricane season already, day 13, and it is about time we actually got to see a system form. It looks like this one here, 90E, which we've tagged I5, will do that, and we expect it to become at least a mid to high end tropical storm. In the Western Pacific, we're giving a 20% chance to an area of interest there that we've tagged 05 off the coast of Vietnam. That's likely to recurve eventually into the northern part of the South China Sea towards Taiwan. Whether it will develop at any of those points remains to be seen, looks unlikely still. And in the North Indian Ocean, we've got another system here, very broad, quite deep actually, area of interest, L5, that we tagged there. 30% chance, only because it's so strong already. 35 mile an hour winds, pressure estimate 994, but it probably won't manage to wrap itself well, considering just how large it is. Southern Hemisphere, Southwest Indian Ocean, well, there's a little bit of cloudiness and thunderstorms going on there, northeast of Madagascar over the Seychelles, but it doesn't look like that will become anything of note, certainly nothing being picked up by the models. And in the Australian region, just in case we've got one or two things sneaking in at the end, it doesn't look like it now. It's quite a quiet picture here, and we're very thankful for that. So let's turn our attention to Invest 90E, which is on the cusp of becoming a tropical cyclone, but still lacks a clear circulation. 90% is what we're giving it, 25 mile per hour winds, still got a way to go yet, 1007 millibars, currently near 12.1 north, 102.4 degrees west, and that puts it 590 kilometers pretty much due south of Acapulco. 647 from Lazaro Cardenas, 792 from Manzanillo, and 1300 from Mazatlan, all along the coast of Mexico. Well, the storm is expected to intensify over the next few days and should peak at least as a mid to high end tropical storm and possibly a hurricane. So we've marked Invest 90E here in red, obviously, because it's a high chance of development and quite a broad system. You can clearly see all that as we look at this imagery. Clouds trying to encircle what would be that center of circulation. ASCAP Pass earlier on found that it was still lacking on the western side especially to close off that circulation, and the cloud pattern really doesn't look very good right now, which means that it's going to take its time to form probably, and even though National Hurricane Center have it at nearly 100%, it could still take maybe 24 hours before we get a tropical cyclone or at least a named storm out of this, but I'm pretty confident that it will happen. Of course, everyone is, and models have been downtrending despite that, but still it's on its way. Well, here's these two other systems in the Asia Pacific region, O5 and L5 there, obviously the one near Vietnam, a much smaller system, and the one off the coast of India and Bangladesh, enormous as we look at that one. Here's a close-up at the first one though. Invest 91W is what it is being tagged at by the US Navy as well. 20% chance of development here, 25 mile per hour winds at 7 a.m. local time this morning, May 28th. Here's some radar views from Vietnam as well, showing that there are some significant rainstorms reaching the coast from this Invest, although not massive coverage, but quite a few little areas there. And this is Invest 94B, which has got a pretty low pressure considering it's very large, 994 millibars, 35 mile per hour winds, but still probably lacking a circulation and the correct cloud pattern to designate as a tropical cyclone as well, but certainly will have some force in that. and definitely will have massive amounts of moisture in it too, as we look at some very high cloud tops nearby. And here's some radar imagery as well out of India, partially incomplete, but you can get the general idea of what's going on there. A few rain showers reaching the coast. Good news at the minute is that the heaviest of the showers are well offshore. Here's the US East Coast. There's a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings active at the time of recording, and a lot of cloud cover over the northeast United States. This is the open Atlantic, looking out towards the major areas of development, especially in the early to mid-season, but very little going on so far. A wide shot of the Eastern Pacific as well, giving you just another view of just how large that invest is right now. Well to the south of Mexico, but could possibly cover most of the country if it was placed on top. And this is the Western Pacific, of course. Lots of cloudiness going on there, but very little organization. Similar monsoonal patterns really, especially now over India as well, all stemming from that massive area of interest, 94B, which is perched along the coast of West Bengal right now. Some massive cloud tops shooting out towards the west there over central and western India. Some of that may have even been slightly linked to that previous system we were tracking a few days ago. And this is the southwest Indian Ocean. Not too much to talk about here, but there is some significant moisture and storms moving in there through the Seychelles. And look at the size of that extratropical cyclone moving into New Zealand. They're being absolutely lashed right now with an enormous area frontal system there that's hitting New Zealand. And looking elsewhere, another point of interest, Taiwan right now, some heavy showers moving through, especially around the north and east coast. Sea surface temperatures have taken a marked increase over parts of the Gulf of Mexico in the last few days. Along the coast of Mississippi and Alabama now reading 29 degrees Celsius, where a few days ago it was only around 26 or maybe 27. Along the coast of Mexico, real hot points there as well, over 30 degrees Celsius, pushing 32 degrees where the invest currently is. Falls off a steep cliff though if it does continue to move west-northwest. Western Pacific, temperatures looking good here all around the northern Philippines into the South China Sea. A large pool of 31 to 32 degrees Celsius waters. Philippine Sea also looking very good. That invest near Vietnam around 31 degrees. Bay of Bengal also huge amounts of moisture to tap into, really going to feed that monsoonal rain, and is going to cause massive rainfall amounts over the coastal regions over the next few days. Temperatures are reading a little bit above average. The orange zones here denote above average temperatures, become especially apparent in the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico now and along the coast of Florida there on both sides. Eastern Pacific still half and half actually. Look out west of the Baja California Peninsula, it is still significantly below average, but that's the only real spot in the tropics that is suffering. Oceanic heat content, despite that, looking pretty decent for the time of year in the Eastern Pacific main development region. And the Western Pacific, of course, has that huge amount of energy that's been present for a long time now, and certainly could support a powerful typhoon or several over the next few weeks. It's just waiting for an actual system to arrive there and pop up. The Atlantic also looking quite good now in parts of the Caribbean, entering into the loop current, moderate to locally high values of Jamaica, of Cuba, and possibly near the Yucatan. Well, it's time to take a look at the computer models. The GFS for the next 5 days. Here's the view, popping up that system in the Eastern Pacific quite quickly, but still not immediate. Next 24 hours is the best guess to get the tropical storm status, and off it goes, shrivels up in the end after being quite a large system initially, much larger than one might expect for our first storm to be. You can see it there, tropical storm force winds reaching the coast well before the center gets anywhere near, then moving through the islands off the coast there and then into land eventually by day 5. Hardly anything left of it by the time it gets there. Watching these two systems in the Pacific and Indian Ocean, first of all looking out for signs of that recurve in the Western Pacific. There it is, I've circled it, that system eventually moving through Taiwan, but doesn't form by the looks of things. And now circling the Indian Ocean system, there it is, very large, moving into land pretty soon, inside the next 2 days, and then obviously the residual rainfall behind that. looking at the rainfall expectations over the next 7-day period, shows some significant numbers, not quite as significant as one or two model runs had a few days ago. In fact, at one point they were calling for over 1,000 millimeters over parts of Myanmar. Well, that's been toned down a little bit, but still looking at some locally dangerous amounts which could cause some deadly flash flooding. Over 500 millimeters still on the cards for some parts of Myanmar, and into the interior region of India there as well, getting up towards also 500 millimeters actually, and near the Philippines, just off there, the islands, possibly one or two spots over 1,000 millimeters. Well, in the longer range, this is the day 5 to 10 period, looking at a possible system forming off the southwestern part of Taiwan there near the end of that time, around 5th or 6th of June. A brief spin-up system there. Looks like it does get to a significant tropical storm status, but its complexion is struggling there, and it gets, well, it does just about make it to the coast of China before completely getting devoured. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all our items as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request. And to take a look at all of Force 13's outlets, you can check out this link, which will take you to all of your favourite spots. Well, into the fantasy range, this is day 10 to 16, not to be taken seriously, and there's a good reason for that this time around. Well, there's a system there in the Eastern Pacific, gets to hurricane status actually before reaching Mexico. That's not too outlandish, but look what happens over there in the Atlantic, Gulf of Mexico. Enormous system. I don't think you can quite grasp just how large that system is moving through the Gulf there. At one point, tropical storm force winds, 40 miles per hour plus, extend all the way from southern Florida probably, right the way to Louisiana, and maybe more than that, pretty much. Looking at that there, enormous system. Lose its size a little bit towards the end, but that is very very unbelievable. But possibly not as unbelievable as how powerful Typhoon Phyllis was on May 28th, 1958, reaching its peak intensity by the end of the day of 175 miles per hour, an estimated pressure of 928 millibars. We also had a tropical depression out there in the South China Sea, and yes, you're reading that right, what's left of 11L off the east coast of the United States, which was a tropical storm that was recognized in post-season analysis, and that's when it was labeled, which is why it's 11L. Otherwise it would have been 1L. Well, back to today then, and we're still stuck at 25 storms for the year so far. The southern hemisphere certainly wowed us, but the northern hemisphere so far extremely slow, just like last year. In the Atlantic, it could be the first time in 11 years in which there's 2 seasons in a row that has no preseason storms. Andrea's the first name on the list. Eastern Pacific, of course, is Alvin. West Pacific, Wu Tip. North Indian Ocean, Shakti. And of course, not forgetting the Central Pacific, whose next name is Iona. In the Australian region, Fina is next up. Southwest Indian Ocean has another month to try and find Lyra before the names reset. And in the South Pacific, the next name is Urmil. That's all from tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow night.
Become an ultimate fan today.